Welcome everyone to Breastfeeding During the Holidays. We are incredibly excited to see you this morning. We certainly apologize about those technical issues, but thank you so much for bearing with us and joining us today. My name is Lelena Rabari, and I am marketing manager here at Mom Cozy. And yeah, I'm just going to introduce you a little bit about our brand. So Colette, if you want to click next. Awesome. So a little bit about Mom Cozy. We got started in 2018. And we've honestly, our goal is to bring the best in comfort to all of you. We are endorsed by 3 million moms. We are in 40 plus countries now. I cannot believe it. And we are really committed to making sure we innovate to bring you the best products and services that you need to make caring for yourself and your little one a comfortable experience. You want to click next? A little bit about this. This is a part of our breastfeeding support program initiative. And this is new. This started in August, but we realized that moms need more than products. They need actual support. So we provide education. This is a webinar. We do one webinar a month from certified prenatal and perinatal professionals. So you guys are getting expert advice and evidence-based advice. We also have the BSP, Mom Cozy Breastfeeding Support Hub. If you have not joined it yet, I highly recommend you do so. And I'm going to share a QR code soon, but this, we will get that link in the chat for you. And then we also offer you discounts as well. So yeah, if you want to check us out, momcozy.com, and it should just say breastfeeding support, and please learn more about our program. Next. And here it is. Here's the QR code. So make sure to scan this code to join our community. And why you want to join is because after this, Colette is actually going to be going into the community and answering your questions. You can also go there for encouragement from other moms. And there's a lot of events coming up, and we want to be a place of support, and you can find other moms to connect with. I would love to see if you are in our community, like throw it in the chat. I want to just see how many people are with us. It's always exciting to us, and in all your feedback, we love it. Next. And for joining today, you would enter a raffle for an S12 Pro, and you are going to get an exclusive discount from Mom Cozy. So yeah, just check it out in your email. And with that, I am going to introduce amazing Dr. Colette Wiseman. She is a renowned expert in the lactation field, board certified, working in emergency and internal medicine. She went to school at the University of Chicago in a 5-year residency at UCLA. She has 3 beautiful children, and she supports moms through her private lactation business, online support groups, and educating other physicians about breastfeeding support for their patients. Thank you so much for joining. Colette, I'm going to throw it to you to introduce our panelists.
Thank you so much, Elena. So yeah, we're doing something different this time. We've done a couple of these webinars before, but this time we decided to get some real live breastfeeding moms online with us, just to give us their experiences as well and kind of weigh in and make this more real. So I invited a couple of my previous clients or current clients, and actually good friends as well. I have Yolanda and Caitlin. Caitlin, actually, her title on the video says Colette, but that's really Caitlin. I'm not doubled. So Yolanda, hi, did you want to say anything about yourself, anything about your baby, where you live?
Yes, so today my baby turns 10 months, so I'm really excited about that. Live in Santa Monica, California, and Dr. Colette has been an incredible support from day one. She was here helping us. She was outside when we first arrived from the hospital, helping us. She actually helped us bring our bags in, and without Colette's help, honestly, we wouldn't have continued in our breastfeeding journey. She was essential, and I'm very grateful that we met her, and that we were looking for support. We didn't know we were going to find a doctor, an MD, to come to our house and help us. It was a pleasure to meet her, and I'm glad that we're still part of her life.
Oh, thanks. It's lovely to see you guys. And yeah, my pleasure. And I mean, that's definitely something we're going to talk about today, is getting breastfeeding support and getting help, which makes I think a huge difference to moms. And Caitlin, did you want to say hi and something about your little one?
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I have a 4-month-old baby. She's 4 months old today.
Oh, so funny.
She's eating right now. She's super cute. Good girl. I've been working with Dr. Colette since I came home from the hospital. She's been such a wonderful resource, and she most recently just saved my supply by clearing a clog for me. And I am forever, forever grateful to you.
Oh, no problem. And I promise I didn't tell them to say all these nice things. They're just being lovely. Okay, so I'm going to give a short presentation, and then we actually are going to talk to our panelists after I go through the presentation, just so I can get out some key points. But participants, anyone who's attending, please put questions in the chat, and if there's something relevant, I might, or actually put it in the Q&A if you can. And I will stop if we need to and try and address some questions, or I'll address them at the end, or I'll put them on the Facebook group afterwards if I don't get time for everything. But yeah, I wanted to say that I try and be very evidence-based. We don't have a lot of research and studies in breastfeeding, so we don't always know the answer, but there's a lot of experts that I try and compile all their opinions, and we do our best to give you really good advice, but feel free to ask afterwards if you're like, where is that coming from? And I'll let you know. And see, here we go. Today, we're going to talk about how there may be extra stresses on parents in the holidays beyond your usual stresses. Some of the particular scenarios I'm going to talk about are when you're breastfeeding at home, but you have visitors, or you're hosting people, or people are staying with you. Breastfeeding and pumping while you're outside the home, lots of different places you might be during the holidays. How you're going to manage milk storage, you might not have to do during your regular schedule. How changes in schedule in the holidays can affect you and your baby and your breastfeeding. Mental health awareness, super important, just how to stay as positive as possible, because all these things can really affect you. And then of course, all of our, that's something that's always in the back of people's mind, is that milk supply. How is this going to affect your milk supply? So holidays, right? Fun, relaxing, everyone's having a good time. However, your usual support system might be gone. Your routine, your people that you see every day, or your usual things that help you get by. Baby doesn't pause for the holiday. They might decide this is the time to start teething. This is the time to have a sleep regression. So they're going to continue their, throwing things at you. You might be traveling away from your home. You might be in a different location than you usually are. And for those of us who are also working, you still have those work demands on top of you. Work sometimes doesn't stop. Email doesn't stop. Unfamiliar food, we all like trying different things, but it throws us out of our routine. Maybe you go to someone's house and they serve something that you don't usually eat, and it just kind of doesn't give you the usual energy, or it upsets your stomach and it just throws you off. And of course, as moms, everyone comes to us to be their support system. They're like, oh, you can help me. I'm having some issues. So you're already managing yourself and your baby, and suddenly you're the pillar for your friends and family as well. Maybe visiting other people who don't even know about having babies or breastfeeding, or aren't particularly focused on you. Maybe hosting people in your house, your sleep schedule changing because of travel, because of needing to get up early to cook the turkey or whatever you're doing. Childcare. I know for me, my kids' daycare is not in this week. Good luck. So, your nanny may be on vacation. Oh, my nanny's also on vacation. So my evening support is gone. My daytime support is gone. So, all these things just kind of throw a lot at us. So I just want to give you some general tips. Just thinking ahead, all these things are oh my God, how am I going to manage this? You can plan. You can do some things to help yourself manage the holidays a little easier. Plan your support system. Know what you need. Do you need sleep? Tell your family you need to prioritize sleep. Do you need a certain food? Do you need to eat breakfast every day? Do you need to make sure you're going to call your friend every day? Do you need exercise? Do you need alone time? I mean, I'm actually an introvert. I need my alone time, and I cannot be going 24/7, interacting with other people. I need a couple hours a day to myself, reading or exercising. Do you need to plan some time to catch up with work? You know, those emails are piling up and you're like, okay, on Tuesday, I'm gonna have 2 hours and I'm gonna take care of those. Calling friends, and you're telling your family ahead what you need. I was just talking with a friend, I think, about this, about how we just really hope that our family knows what we need, and they don't. They mean well, but they don't come into it and say, oh, I bet what you need is a nap right now. You know, no one's going to do that for you. But they want to support you if you can tell them, hey, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to need a nap because I'm getting really sleep deprived. It really helps. Feel free to set some limits. If you're like, listen, I cannot host 20 people for Thanksgiving dinner without some help, or, you know, we're just going to say no this year. So sometimes you have to be the one to say no. Let's talk about some specific scenarios. So most of us are breastfeeding or pumping in our home most of the time. But suddenly you might have people there and you're like, wait, this is thrown up my usual routine, my usual location. My best advice is just continue as usual. You know, it's your home. You don't have to worry about what everyone else is thinking of you. Some people choose to use a nursing cover, but you have no obligation. You're not legally or morally or anything required to cover yourself up. You could tell people, or they can choose to step out. So if you decide to start breastfeeding and you want to say, hey, I'm going to feed the baby now, your father-in-law or whoever you're worried about being uncomfortable, they have feet, they can walk. You don't need to necessarily leave. But I know some moms will take the breastfeeding or pumping opportunity as a time to have that alone time. So you can use it to your advantage if you want to. Say, hey, I'll be back in 20 minutes. I have to go feed the baby, and you can have some nice private quiet time. So whatever, but it's your choice. Know that it's your home, you decide. I've had some parents, I would say less commonly, honestly, who decide they just feel really uncomfortable with breastfeeding or pumping with others in their home, or it's inconvenient and they pump and bottle feed. But usually people, you know, it's an extra hassle if you don't usually do it, but it's certainly an option if that's convenient for you. Yeah, definitely don't ask permission. This has been a big thing for me with breastfeeding and pumping that I give parents advice for if they're going to work, or if they're, you know, if they're visiting people. You don't need to ask, hey, is it okay if I pump? Is it okay if I feed my baby? You know, you do not need to ask. You can let people know if you're going to feed or not. It's your home. You'd be surprised if you act like it's normal. Most people are like, oh, I guess that's normal. A couple catchphrases that you could use: just tell people, hey, I'll be right back, just got to feed the baby. You don't have to say, oh, is this a good time for me to feed the baby? No, just tell them you're doing it. Be confident. Or give them something to do. That's always useful. Like, hey, make dinner, I'll be right back. So 2 birds with 1 stone. Couple thoughts about breastfeeding outside the home. You're outside your usual comfort zone. You might be at a close family or friend's house, and that's usually the most comfortable place if you're just branching out about breastfeeding and pumping outside your home. A great place to start is with a close family or friend, and just kind of figure out, what do you need to bring with you? You know, how comfortable are you? Do you want to ask them for a place to go, or do you want to just sit on their couch? But you might be at someone's house that's less familiar, like a dinner that you get invited to, and you bring your baby. Let me just see. Oh, I didn't put additional things here. And again, this is honestly, people are not going to notice. In my experience, I've breastfed 3 kids, and people just don't notice. If you act like it's normal and you just kind of do it, especially if you're at a busy party with like 1 million people around, I'd say just if your baby will tolerate it. Some babies will get distracted. Oh, hi, Matthew. Matthew just showed up. Baby Matthew over there with Yolanda. If your baby is okay with it, just feed in the middle. No one's going to notice anything. Actually, you know what's wonderful as a breastfeeding mom is when the only people who notice are other breastfeeding moms, because they know what you're doing, and they come up to you and they say, I love that you're breastfeeding your baby. And that is just like the best feeling. I don't know if you guys have had that happen. Any of you guys? Lilliana's nodding there.
I have had that happen, and I went to a friend's house for dinner, and what was so precious was she like offered me, because I didn't feel comfortable, but she offered me a cover up. She got my food for me, And I love what you're saying about maybe start with close friends, because that did help me build my confidence when I had like close friends in my home, and I would just whip the boob out and I would just start breastfeeding, and I started to build my confidence. So I love that you said that, because sometimes it is challenging, but I love that you're normalizing it. Yeah, other breastfeeding moms will give you a high five, and it's like solidarity, sister. I love it.
Yeah, and everyone else will not notice. I've been in all kinds of places breastfeeding, and people just walk by you. They don't know what you're doing. So breastfeeding in public places. So this is outside your home, but it's not necessarily someone else's home. I wanted to go over your legal rights. I know some people might not be from the United States, but if you're in the United States, anywhere that you and your baby are allowed to be, you are allowed to breastfeed. So just keep that in mind. That's actually your legal prerogative. You might be in a park, you might be outdoors. So just think about, do you need an extra jacket? It's winter time, like, wait, how am I going to stay warm? Get a nice big jacket that's kind of extra puffy, that opens a little bit in the front, that you can keep baby all snuggled up in, and you can breastfeed. And a great method is the 2-shirt method, where you have like a tank or a breastfeeding bra that you pull down, and then your other shirt goes up, so you're mostly covered, so you're not getting too cold. Restaurants, again, no one's going to notice. Maybe a breastfeeding mom will come up to you and be like, oh, that's cool that you're breastfeeding. You can bring a cover up if you want, but keep in mind bringing like extra cushions, extra burp cloths, because there may be some mess. Breastfeeding in shops and malls and airports, actually I'll lump those together, because a lot of times they'll have breastfeeding pods, if that makes you feel more comfortable. But again, just like Elena said, whip it out. No one's going to notice. Just find a quiet place that's good for you and your baby. Some older babies will get distracted, so that's like a big reason you might want to be somewhere more quiet. But if not, just go for it. No one's going to notice. I want to talk about milk storage while traveling, especially for our pumping moms, because suddenly you don't have your refrigerator, you don't have your freezer. I recommend you don't rely on anyone else. So say you're going, okay, if you're going to stay at your in-laws' house for a week, then you're probably going to use their fridge, but I wouldn't assume that people will have the setup that you need. So just bring, especially don't assume that a hotel will have what you need. If you have a cooler with ice packs, your milk's good in there for 24 hours. So that's a really easy thing to travel with. If you're traveling in an airport and you're, say, bringing milk with you, just keep in mind to go through TSA, that's the security. If you have a solid ice pack, it's fine. The milk can be liquid or solid. You can also, what I've done before is I have ice in a Ziploc, and I dump the ice before security. Then I go through security with the milk, and it's off ice for 20 minutes. And then I get to the other side, go to Starbucks, say, hey, can you fill up some ice for my medication? And say medication, don't say milk, they'll freak out. They'll fill your Ziploc with ice and you put it back in your cooler. And so that's been a really successful strategy. If you're on the road, you're going on a road trip for 24 hours, just do the cooler with ice packs. It works really great. Your milk will be totally fine. Oh yeah, a good trick in the US, if you ask for a fridge for medication, again, the key word is medication, they're legally required to give you a fridge. You don't have to tell them what medication. And milk is a good medication for your baby. So you can ask for a fridge. Just keep in mind that within the US, you can travel with an unlimited amount of breast milk. They may want to see it, but you can travel, it's fine. Internationally, coming out of another country, some countries have different restrictions. So just keep that in mind. Look up the restrictions if you're traveling internationally. Schedule changes. So holidays is really tough for kids and parents because you may be traveling, you may be not getting up at the usual time, you might change time zones. My tips to you are that babies shift a little slower than us with time zones. So say you fly from the West Coast to the East Coast, you might be fine within a day or two. Baby's probably going to take a couple days. I know with my kids, I always felt like it took a week to really feel like, okay, now we're good, we're all in the same time zone. So just keep in mind, I would always just have either me or my husband stay on the baby's time zone and just stick with it, sleep when they sleep. Remember, if you stay up late, you know how it works. Baby does not sleep in late. Baby's still going to get up at the same time. So if you need to stay up late at a party, just plan that I'm going to need a nap tomorrow and get some support for that. And whether you set an alarm on your phone or you just kind of keep in mind, just remember to keep emptying every 3 hours or so. and that will maintain your supply.
I want to stop there real quick because we have a lot of questions in the group about milk supply. Dr. Colette, my milk supply is waning. How can I make sure to keep the supply? And if I'm hearing you correctly, it's really to maintain it. Is that 3 hours is necessary? Am I hearing this correctly?
Yeah, good point. So, and I have a whole slide on milk supply as well. So in general, moms need to empty their breasts every 3 hours or 8 times a day to maintain their milk supply. Now, as your baby gets older, so after about 2 months, your supply will regulate. A lot of babies, so this is not going to be, if you're breastfeeding, plan to breastfeed for a year, you're not going to be waking up every 3 hours, I promise you, for a whole year. Most babies will start doing a longer stretch of sleep, 4 hours, maybe 6 hours. And usually if baby's sleeping, it's okay to not empty. You don't have to set an alarm. It's more, but for travel, if you're like, oh, it's throwing me off, I'm going to, someone else is going to take the baby and I'm going to sleep for 8 hours. You may want to make sure to wake up once or twice during that 8 hours to empty the breast so your supply doesn't take a hit. And just to answer the question, like milk supply in general, the primary rule, the main thing I see with people's milk when people are struggling with milk supply is that they've somehow dropped one of those emptying sessions. So they might have decided to give formula at night and not empty for 8 hours overnight. And unfortunately, that can affect your daytime supply as well. So you might need to get up and pump once during the night if that's the case. Or mom's going back to work and they're just not able to empty during the daytime, and then your milk supply takes a hit. So there's a lot more nuances to it, but the bottom line is the biggest reason people's milk supply drops is that they're not getting emptied as much. I definitely want to address mental health awareness. So anxiety and depression, a lot of us suffer with this even prior to the holidays, even prior to having children. It's a very common thing in the world, in the US and in the world as well. But it's not uncommon for it to appear or get worse during the holidays. So just keep this in mind if this is something that you have a tendency to, or if you start getting symptoms like, wow, I'm just feeling really down, really upset, really irritable all the time. These things can appear during the holidays. And why? Well, more stressors, like I talked about at the beginning, sleep changes. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I don't get my sleep, I'm grumpy. And if you already have mental health stressors underneath that, and then you skip some sleep, it can really worsen things. Your schedule's changing, so it's just throwing off everything that you usually do. So my suggestions with mental health awareness during the holiday, just know what you need. Like I said at the beginning, do you need exercise every day? Do you need to eat some chocolate every day? Do you need to have a really good breakfast every day? Or whatever? Or do you need to talk to your friend on the phone every couple of days? Know what you need and just plan that out. If you're in therapy, do not drop therapy during the holidays. And if you start feeling down, just consider reaching out for therapy. It's great to get professional help if you're starting to feel not good mentally. Not a good time usually to wean off medication. So if you're on an antidepressant, and I know most people, if they're on antidepressant, they're like, I want to get off this. Just wait till after the holidays. Not a great time to reduce your support. And yes, plan out any support that you need. There we go. Milk supply, the big question, and we'll address this with our panelists later as well. So why would milk supply especially drop during the holidays? Well, stress itself actually releases hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. They drop your milk supply. So again, a reason to set yourself up to not be as stressed, to be as least stressed as possible during the holiday. Nutrition changes, you forget to eat, you travel, you get dehydrated. So really taking care of you is the best way you can take care of your baby while you're traveling and doing things during the holiday. You're exposed to all kinds of people and you might be traveling, you might catch a cold. I hear this a lot, that getting a cold or getting any kind of virus will drop your milk supply a little bit. Don't worry, it usually comes back, but it's very common people feel that takes a hit. Skipping or forgetting a pump session because you're too busy, you're traveling. So what are my suggestions to minimize these interruptions in milk supply is just prioritize emptying your breasts. I know when I was working, I would set an alarm for like 2.5 hours because I knew I wouldn't, if I set it for 3, it would take me another half hour to figure out a time to pump. So set a 2.5 or 3 hour timer on your phone to remind you. And then it's kind of good because people around you hear it go off and you say, oh, I have to go feed the baby or I have to go pump. And just hydrate a lot. Electrolytes are great. So people love Gatorade, people love the pink drink at Starbucks. I'm not endorsed by Starbucks, but people say, I think it's the coconut milk in it that people love. And, feel free to focus on yourself. I give you permission to focus on yourself, because that's the best way that you can support your baby and your milk supply.
I do want to ask a couple questions. They had some about breast milk supply. How long should you pump during these sessions?
Most people, so the starting point would be 20 minutes of pumping. Most people need that to empty. But if you're an experienced pumper and you know that you can empty in 5 or 10 minutes, I've certainly seen moms who can do that. Great. You don't have to do 20 minutes. Some moms just find they're less efficient. They don't respond to a pump as well as to a baby. It takes them 30 minutes. If it's more than 30 minutes, I would talk with a lactation consultant, because that's a little unusual, and I don't want you to be tied to your pump all day.
All right, awesome. One more question, and then we will get to the panelists. The question was, are we supposed to still use a wall pump, or can I just use a hands-free pump? Okay. What about the equipment?
Oh, sorry, I lost my Zoom video. There we go. I'm back. So yeah, for most people, once your supply is established and you're kind of, what you're doing, I'm totally fine with a hands-free pump. I even recommend it to people. People get told, oh, you have to use the most expensive hospital grade pump. It's so not true. Early on, it's then nice because you're new to pumping. You're not quite sure what it should feel like. You're not quite sure how it should look. But once you've done it a few times, like hands-free, it makes so much difference. It makes pumping so much easier and doable. So yeah, totally fine.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody, please continue to put your questions in the Q&A. We'll get to as many as we can. But now we are going to move to the panelists. And Colette, I'm going to allow you to kind of facilitate this discussion between all of us.
Yeah, so I'm going to see if our panelists have any thoughts on all these things that I just talked about. Let me start with Caitlin. Let's see, so do you have any thoughts or experience about, you can talk about either like maintaining your milk supply while traveling, or mental health issues. What's on your mind?
Sure. Well, definitely as far as mental health goes for me, and I mentioned this to you before, checking in with my lactation consultant has been invaluable. Sometimes, I go to you and it wasn't necessarily that I had like a pumping issue, but I just was feeling a certain type of way about pumping all the time. It was really hard and I was stressed out, and you were so encouraging and telling me that like, you're doing a great job. If this is too much, we can, alter this, or we can make changes. And just having your support has been really important to me, and really, keeping me going with pumping and breastfeeding and trying different things. So that's been really nice. I don't have a lot of friends. So I have friends with babies, but not a lot of them breastfed. So I don't think that they related quite to, the challenges that I was facing. So it was just great to have such a great relationship with my lactation consultant, for sure. And then traveling and breastfeeding, I actually, I'm based in California, but my family is in New York. So I have taken the baby on the plane. And the cooler is vital. I use that every day at work too. I just pack a cooler with ice. And also on the plane, I have to tell you, I've tried so many different pumps. My favorite pump for traveling, like on the plane, has been my Mom Cozy V1. It's the
I promise we didn't set this up ahead of time, guys. she's just telling us.
I was just telling
put your affiliate link in. Just kidding.
I have to tell you, I've tried so many hands-free pumps, and the one that I have from Mom Cozy clears me the best. It's quiet, it's discreet. When I was on the plane, I just like popped it into my shirt with my sweatshirt on. Nobody knew what I was doing. And then I just dumped it into my little bottles and put it in my cooler, and away we go. And it was really easy and nice because, the flight is 6 hours, and I was still pumping at least 3 hours, if not more often at that time. And I just put my pumps in the cooler when I was done. That way in 3 hours, I could use them again. I didn't have to wash them or anything. So definitely having the hands-free is easy. And then when I got to New York and I was home, in my parents' home, I use, my plug-in once in a while just to get a really, really strong pump going. But yeah, I've found pumping while traveling a lot easier than I thought it would be, just because of the pumps that they have now that make it easy for you to do it on the go.
So true. When I had my first baby 13 years ago, we did not have wearable pumps, and barely everything was plug-in. There weren't even battery powered pumps, and yes, it makes a huge difference to be portable. So thank you so much. Yolanda, did you have any thoughts about, I know we were talking before about like having people in your home and having to breastfeed or pump. Did you have any experiences with that, or anything else related to holiday stuff that you wanted to share with us?
Yes, so we have my husband from the East Coast, and we had
Yolanda, you're actually breaking up. Do you mind turning the video off? That works. Can you turn your video off?
Just with my husband, letting him know, this makes me feel comfortable, or can you hear me?
Yeah, this is perfect.
Okay. So for me, it was really just communicating with my husband and letting him know, okay, I don't necessarily feel comfortable breastfeeding in front of, the entire family. I like to nurse when I'm in the bedroom. So can you please like host your family, or if I'm pumping, I also don't like I'm discreet. I like privacy. So letting him know, can you please maybe let's schedule ahead of time, and then you go and take your family out, on an errand or just sightseeing. And then it gave me the time to just really focus on what I was doing, just have my alone time, and then keep my production, because when I'm stressed, it obviously affects the production, and that's how we were able to do it, and it worked perfectly. It was great, and we've had them several times, and we also have my family sleep over a lot because they want to see baby, and the same, we different people I feel more comfortable with, but we plan it ahead of time, communication, and also if there is because I'm half pumping, half breathing, I have advantage of time. So I get, my alone time, or I can make calls, and then my husband gets to do errands with the baby, and we get, stuff done, and just being productive and making the best out of that time, because it is time consuming to pump and to breastfeed. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. And yeah, you bring up a great point that I will emphasize again. You have to, as a mom, and this is like as a mom in general, you have to tell people what you need. People mean well, but they're not going to know unless you tell them, and then they want to help you. So I love that you told your husband ahead of time, hey, I need this, I need you to do that, and he was more than happy to do it. So people want to help you, they just don't always know how. I'm going to take a second and reply to some of these great questions that are in our Q&A, because I want to get to these. So my first question was, should you feed baby milk you pumped in the morning and feed them milk you pumped in the evening? Does it matter? Generally, it really doesn't matter. A lot of moms will actually just mix, if they're pumping, just mix all the milk together in like a mason jar or an Nalgene bottle in the fridge, and just pour out whatever they need for right then. So it doesn't make a huge difference. If you have fresh milk you just pumped, by all means, just go ahead and give it to baby, then you don't have to store it. But yeah, there are some subtleties, but in general, it's way easier to just feed them milk whenever it's convenient. How do I keep my pump schedule with cooking and hosting? So this goes back to what I was saying about just prioritize yourself. Know what you need. Hey, at 5 p.m. I'm going to need to pump. Who's going to be watching the cooking the pasta, or who's going to be watching the other kids or entertaining people? So we have to plan ahead a little bit. Tell people you're going to need help. And you're the only one that's going to prioritize that. No one's going to do it for you. How do you up your milk supply after breastfeeding for 6 months? Yeah, again, it can be complicated. Depends on your situation, what exactly is going on. But the first thing to do is make sure you're emptying every 3 hours during the daytime and not going too long at nighttime. Most people can go 4, 5, sometimes 6 hours at nighttime by 6 months, and their supply is okay. But make sure you're emptying plenty. And if it's more complicated than that, please get a lactation consultant and ask them your detailed questions, because there can be a lot of different factors. Breastfeeding in your car, one of my favorite topics. So I'm a doctor, and I would drive to work and pump on the way, and drive home and pump on the way back, just to make sure I got lots of emptying sessions. My strategy was to use a nursing cover. So I would do, let's see, first you put the pump on, then you put your seatbelt on, and then you put the nursing cover over the seatbelt so it doesn't get like all squished. And never had an issue. I sometimes wondered if I got pulled over or something, if anyone would say anything. Didn't happen. But yeah, it was not an issue. A lot of people will use wearable pumps, or even if you have a non-wearable pump, you can get the little cups that go with it that go inside your bra, and so you cannot see from the outside that someone is pumping. But if you have like the old-fashioned Spectra or Medela that sticks out, just put a pumping cover or a nursing cover over it, and no one's going to notice. Let's see, new mom, question about mental health issues. So you're just getting support ahead of time and being really aware of yourself, knowing yourself, whether you've suffered with depression or anxiety in the past, and you know this is going to be a stressor that's going to up your mental health issues, and making sure to check in with your psychiatrist, with your therapy, with your therapist. Or if you're just worried about it, you haven't had mental health issues, just be aware. Just know what to look for. Talk to your family. Say, hey, let me know if I seem like I'm getting overly anxious or getting overly sad. Check in with me. Elena, did you have any comments about, we were talking a lot as we were preparing this about mental health awareness. Did you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, it was interesting, and why I'm very passionate about this topic, because I acutely remember Thanksgiving, and I was stuck with the wall pump in my bathroom, and I was listening to people laugh and eat their Thanksgiving dinner. And it's tough, because after you have a baby, it's like you had so much attention when you were pregnant, and then you have a baby and the attention feels like it goes away. And I felt really invisible at that time. And I was crying. Oh my God, I'm going to cry now. Why am I always crying? It's just so funny whenever I get on these. I remember weeping in the bathroom, and I said, I can't do this. And I wanted to give up. And what I will say is, when I broke down in that moment, that's when I realized I needed help. I needed to reach out to somebody, because what I was doing was not sustainable. And so I realized at that point, that's when my mental health was taking a toll. But I think as moms, we got it until we don't got it. And then once we break down, the family can break down. And so after that moment, I had a couple good friends, and I just texted them, and I was very honest, and they had been breastfeeding moms. And I said, I'm not doing okay. I'm not, guys, this isn't okay. And the support I received in those text messages made me feel I could get through the next hour, right? So you can get through the next hour, then you can get through the next 2 hours. And then I also told my husband, and I love that y'all shared this, I need you to do this. I can't, right? And we have to recognize the holidays is not going to look like it used to. Life doesn't look like it used to in so many ways. And it can be hard, because you're grieving the loss of maybe what life used to be like. But I shared that with others, and just sharing and understanding where I wasn't okay. It really helped me, and groups. And I really encourage people to join our group, because that message from that one mom that gets it may really make you feel like you can keep going on. And I would recommend, if you are a mom that has gone through this, please, let's encourage other moms, because we get it and we can do this together. Let's stick together. So that was a long-winded answer, but this Thanksgiving, I'm triggered by that damn laughing and the freaking dinner table and I wasn't eating dinner and I was starving, by the way.
Yes, please feed yourself and hydrate yourself. Take the food with you. But no, you're right on so many points, Elena, that you need to reach out to people and it's before you reach out, you have to recognize in yourself that you're not doing well. So please, some self-awareness for everyone. Just realize, and even if you're like, I don't know, am I doing okay? I think I'm doing okay, but I think I'm feeling kind of down about this. Just reach out. You don't have to wait until you're feeling really down. And yeah, I love Facebook for so many groups, mom to mom support groups. I think it's building our mom to mom community, and it's so great. So, you know, a lot of groups you can post anonymously if you don't even want to put your name down. Just say, hey guys, I'm having a rough holiday. Anyone else? Or, you know, I feel really sad about not staying up till midnight on New Year's Eve anymore. Anyone else? You know, and it's as a mom myself, I've reached out for that support on Facebook groups, and it's wonderful what you see back. So please do. Let me see if there's a couple more questions on here. There was actually one when we were talking about mental health. Someone asked a great question. Why do I sometimes get anxiety when I pump? This is a known phenomenon. Those of you who haven't heard it, some moms experience both with breastfeeding and pumping, or sometimes just with one or the other. There's a phenomenon called DMER, dysphoric milk ejection reflex. Basically, it means when you have a letdown or you start pumping or breastfeeding, some people feel, and I think it's like 10%, it's not a lot, feel a really deep like sadness or anxiety or unhappiness. There are treatments for this. Just know that you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. It's something about the hormones that get released that trigger that feeling for people. And then once they're done, they feel fine. But I've had people who don't want to continue breastfeeding because of it. There definitely are treatments. It often gets better with time, so that can help as well. But please talk to your OB or your therapist or your psychiatrist. This is a well-known thing. It's nothing that you're doing wrong. Let me see if there's another question.
It's related to that, and I want to answer. Someone said that, hey, it stresses me out when my baby cries, and they're about to cry, especially if other people are holding them, and I feel like I'm going to lose it. What are some few things that would help me, both me and also keeping baby safe?
Oh, that's a great question, because everyone wants to hold the baby, and like you can see the baby is about to lose it, and maybe you know that it's feeding time. I just encourage people to be firm, be the mom, say, hey, I need to feed the baby. Could I please have them back? And you know, you need to set some boundaries as a mom. Like, you know, you have this, for those of us who already have the babies, I know there's some pregnant moms on here who maybe haven't had their babies yet. But for those of us who've had babies, you know, you have this amazing connection with your baby, and you don't necessarily expect it, that you kind of know what they're feeling and what they need. And just remember that you do have this amazing connection. You know, have confidence in that knowledge. Say, hey, baby needs to go nap now, thanks. And be firm.
I would also say, because there are moments where you get incredibly frustrated and you feel like you're going to lose it on the baby and you're going to lose it on somebody. I would say it's okay. Please put your baby down in a safe space, in a crib. It's okay to walk away. Babies can cry. Remember, they're safe, they're warm, they're loved. Walk away. Just walk away.
Absolutely. Your baby will not remember that. Your baby's going to be fine. I tell moms that a lot. Your baby's going to be fine. You're the one I need to focus on. I want to go back to our panelists and see. So let's see, who did we talk to first? I think Caitlin. Did you have any thoughts on maintaining your supply? I know that's something that you've worked really hard on as a current mom working on your supply. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, for me, I think the key, like you said, was just emptying my breasts on that schedule. And sometimes it was hard, you know, if I knew I was going to go out, like at that 3-hour mark. So I just pumped a little earlier to make sure that I was getting all of my pumping sessions in. And then, you know, like you said, it's not forever. And I think it was around 3 months that my supply kind of stabilized. And you said, okay, we can, you know, cut one of those pump sessions out. And I went down to 7 sessions, and it was okay for me. So just keep on it, do your schedule. And that's really what's helped me keep my supply up, thankfully.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Yeah, it's a good point about parenting in general. I mean, parenting is forever. You're going to be a mom forever, but these stages, it's not forever. Things are going to change. Next month, it'll be different challenges and different situations. So sometimes I know, like when I work with moms in the first couple of weeks, they feel like it's going to be like this forever. I'm never going to sleep again. I'm going to only be breastfeeding 24/7. I'm like, no, just wait a week. It's all going to change.
I think also one thing, and this kind of ties in with mental health too, but you early on, I was kind of going nuts, pumping all the time. And you were like, you need to sleep, give yourself permission to sleep. And once I started sleeping a little more and giving myself a little more stretch of sleep at night, my mental health improved greatly. And I felt like that also really helped my supply. I wasn't nearly stressed, and I was seeing a couple more milliliters here and there. And I really chalk that up to giving myself the permission to sleep when I needed to.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I work with, I've seen this a lot where people are pumping so much, they're getting exhausted, and they're shocked when I say pump less. Give yourself at least a 4-hour break at night, and focus on pumping in the daytime, and don't go too long at night, and give yourself some sleep. Like, no one's ever told me to pump less, and their supply goes up and they're happier. And yes, so please take care of yourself first. And let's see if I can do another couple questions. Let's see, there's a question about mental health, which we kind of discussed a lot about. If your baby's cluster feeding, do you have to empty your breast every 3 hours? So if your baby's cluster feeding, they're kind of doing it for you. They're feeding more than every 3 hours, so you don't have to do additional pumping, definitely not. Why do I feel so hungry breastfeeding? Yeah, it's the hormones that get released. Your body is trying to support your baby by reminding you to eat and drink. I know I would always get really dry mouth with breastfeeding. It's my body telling me you need to drink water. So listen to your body. It's okay. People worry about weight loss, especially early on. Don't even worry about it. Just do what your body needs. And then if you feel like you're eating excessively and gaining weight, after a couple of months, definitely talk with your doctor or nutritionist to kind of figure out a good plan to support your breastfeeding and still, have your weight loss goals. We talked about wall pumps and hands-free as well. What's a goal pumping schedule in the holidays? Now, assuming, let's say, exclusively nursing and pumping once a day, if you're exclusively nursing, you don't even need to be pumping. If you want to pump to maintain a slight oversupply or to provide a bottle for evening when you don't want to breastfeed for some reason, whenever you want to is fine. This mom said she's really sore after 30 minutes. Like I said, 30 minutes is probably the long end of pumping. And I do think you'll start causing nipple pain and duct damage if you're doing a lot longer than that. So maybe check in with a lactation consultant to make sure your pumping is optimized. Because you don't want to be pumping that long. Question about pumping for twins. Honestly, any pump works great. Keep in mind your volumes may be a lot larger, so some of the wearables or cups that go with the plugins or battery-powered pumps, they may not be big enough to hold all the milk that you're producing. So twin moms are probably going to pump for at least 4 ounces each side. Sometimes if in the morning you might pump more, you might be pumping 6 or 8 ounces each side. And again, guys, this is for twins, and this is just because I've heard some twin moms have some oversupply. I don't want everyone to be like, oh my God, 8 ounces each side, but it happens. So just keep in mind, if you're expecting twins, you may want to make sure that your milk containers or cups can hold a larger amount of milk. Other than that, any pump is fine. And just to really clarify, a normal pumping session, if you're exclusively breastfeeding your baby, would be about 1.5 ounces on each side. Babies need about 3 to 4 ounces per feeding. So please don't take out of that you should be pumping huge volumes if you're pumping instead of a feeding. Let's see, pumping on cruises. So if you're exclusively pumping, just same thing. It's kind of like just being outside the house and planning. Are you going to be pumping in your room? Are you going to be pumping, you need a battery powered pump if you're going to be pumping out while you're sitting by the pool on the cruise. Bring a cooler with ice packs. So just kind of setting yourself up ahead of time. And you should ask them if they can provide a fridge if you're going to be storing milk. As far as cleaning parts, great question, actually. Cleaning pump parts while you're traveling. So if you're out of the country, I would recommend using bottled water. If you're in a country where the tap water is not safe, use bottled water. And there are some wipes that you can buy also to wipe down your pump parts between pumps if you're like on the go and you can't rinse them off. Other than that, just wash them as usual. Can you add fresh milk to a cold milk, already cold milk? So the CDC says no. Honestly, most breastfeeding moms do it and it's completely fine. I think it's probably fine because the live cells in the milk protect it. But if you feel more comfortable, put it in the fridge in a separate bottle, cool it down, and then add it if you want to follow the CDC guidelines. I want to go back to our panelists. So Yolanda, did you have any, I'll just kind of open it up if you had any thoughts about things that have come up for you just listening to all this, or I can ask you a specific question. Did you have any like general things you wanted to share? Oh, I think we lost you.
For me, I think mental health was one of the most, taking care of my mental health was the most, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
Can you hear me now? Okay, yeah, so for me, I think mental health, taking care of my mental health was vital in keeping up my production. And I quickly figured out that when I was stressed, my volume was low, and then baby was, cranky because he wasn't being fed. It just it was a spiral effect. So what I did was, especially when I was pumping, I used to, get online and, I started limiting my negative news. I started writing a list of gratitude, and then also including that, I used to say, I hate pumping. I hate, all these things because it was painful because, because it is hard. It's time consuming. And then I switched it. I said, I love breastfeeding. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to feed my son. Not everybody has the ability to do this. I'm so grateful that I breastfed him 2 days. So I instead of saying, I know at the beginning I said, I'm going to breastfeed my baby for 1 year. And after 3 weeks of breastfeeding, I was ready to quit. And it was very hard for me because I set that hard goal of 1 year. And I said, I'm never going to reach that. That's impossible. So I switched my mindset and I said, I'm just going to do it 1 day at a time. And till now, I've breastfed him for 10 months and I'm taking it 1 day at a time. If he decides to stop tomorrow, great. If he continues, that's great too. Just giving yourself, I think it just being very kind to yourself and practicing, even what I do is I say, I'm sorry, I worked on my boundaries. So saying no to maybe different events these holidays have really kept my mental health. I'm at a happier place. I limited my outings, so we're gonna do one Thanksgiving event, and then we're gonna make the best out of it, and mainly just stay home and do the things that we love to do. So yeah, so just practicing, so taking care of yourself, mental health, and then surrounding yourself with a good support system. And yeah, those are the main things that I would say have helped me in my milk supply. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. Yeah, it's so important to just take it 1 day at a time because things will change, and see how you feel tomorrow. And I often work with moms and have them set a goal, and I'll say, listen, let's try this for a day, or let's try this for a week. Like, how long do you think you can try this for? And then we'll reassess so that you have some time limit on it. This is not forever. And we'll change things if we need to. If you're miserable with the waking up, or you're miserable with the pumping 8 times a day, let's change things. It's not all or nothing. So yeah, thank you so much. Let's see, and then we just have a couple minutes left, but Elena, did you have any other thoughts that have come up for you with
Yes.
with all this?
Throw the pictures out the door, ladies. For us last year, those holiday pictures weren't going to work. That baby was screaming. And I think we see so much on social media.
Yeah.
And we see these curated moments with these influencer moms, and everybody's matching. And you know what? Okay, let's see that baby screaming. We're just not going to get pictures today. And my husband taught me that. He said, is this worth it? Is it worth it to go through this? And I'm not saying don't get holiday pictures. If that's your jam and you love that, that's awesome. But I
Right,
said,
if that's your thing that you need to get done, figure out a way to get that done and let some other things go.
let some things go. Not 2 days are going to be the same. And I would also say, yeah, getting your support system, I think that really stood out for me. But I do love the education about just setting a pumping schedule in advance. So, I'm going to be traveling tomorrow. What can I do? A nursing and pumping schedule for me tomorrow, and for me writing that out. It kind of, if this scenario happens, if baby wakes up at this time, what are a couple scenarios that could work for me, and setting yourself up for success? But we have a question about alcohol, and I think that's really important. So can you drink alcohol, still breastfeed? What's the rule, Colette?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, honestly, in general, it's completely fine. I would say a drink a day, completely fine. The official, I think it's the CDC, or I think it's the American Association of Pediatrics, says wait 4 hours after drinking. So I'll just throw that out there. But I'll tell you, honestly, the research does not support that you have to wait. It's completely fine. If you're potentially gonna get so intoxicated that you're gonna fall asleep on your baby, or you're not going to be able to take care of your baby, just plan ahead for that. If you're like, this is the party of a lifetime, I need to go, enjoy myself. Yeah, enjoy yourself. The milk will get the alcohol will get out of your system. It'll, dissipate within 8 to 10 hours. Just make sure someone else is taking care of your baby. The amount of alcohol that goes through the baby is so tiny. So even if you were, let me put it this way, if you were legally drunk, the amount of alcohol that your baby would get at that moment that you're legally drunk from your breast milk is like 0.08%, and wine is like 14%. So we're talking like thousandths of what an actual, it's like you put a drop of wine in a bottle. Okay, and if you're not comfortable doing that, totally fine. Just know that these are the amounts we're talking about. You are not giving your baby wine. You are not giving your baby shots.
Baby's taking shots today.
Yeah, no, the amount of alcohol in your breast milk is the same as in your bloodstream. So if you're feeling drunk, there's more in your breast milk. Once you are feeling a little less buzzed, say 4 hours later, the alcohol in your breast milk also dissipates. It clears as well. So it's not like that milk is bad. Some people think they have to pump and dump that milk. No, just don't empty. And if you choose to pump during that time, you can either give the baby the milk. It's totally fine if it was just a drink or two, or you can mix it. Some people will mix it with milk from other times because they want to dilute it. They just feel more comfortable doing that. But yeah, the main thing is your mental state. If you're not in a good place to take care of baby because you're intoxicated, and this goes in general, if you're taking painkillers, they're generally safe. If you are feeling too woozy to take care of your baby, just have someone else take care of them. The milk is actually not a big deal. It's still safe. So let's see if there's other questions on here that I can answer real quick. I will have to go in a couple of minutes. And
I want to encourage everybody. I am taking note of these questions, and please join the Facebook group. Colette is going to go through those questions and answer. So I'm going to put the Facebook group link in here, and the particular link to the Q&A where you can pop your question. Go ahead, Colette.
Thank you. And let me see if I can find some holiday specific questions in here, because there's a lot of general questions too that I'll try and answer later. Caffeine and breastfeeding, I guess that's kind of holiday related because you're having some caffeinated drinks. Generally a couple of cups of coffee a day, something like that, totally fine. Caffeine is not dangerous for babies, and again, the amounts that actually get through to the breast milk are really, really low. They actually give premature babies a caffeine infusion to help with their breathing when they're in the NICU. So that's how not dangerous caffeine is. They actually give it IV if babies need it, so you're not doing your baby any harm. And you can breastfeed right as you're drinking the coffee, or right after you drink the coffee. You don't have to wait. Let's see, any alcoholic drink with Christmas dinner? Yes, go ahead. I think it's totally safe. Warming up pump milk, that's kind of relevant because you may be traveling and warming it up in a different place from usual. I would not microwave it. Microwaving is a couple issues. The first one is that it can not heat it evenly. Now you could probably get around that by, shaking it a little bit after you heat it up. But my biggest concern is that it's actually killing a lot of the live cells and destroying some of the proteins. So I would rather that you get a bowl or a big cup of hot water and put the bottle in that, whether it's an official bottle warmer or you just get some hot water and put the bottle in that. So that's my recommendation for heating up milk on the go. Let's see, microwave. Oh, someone had a question about sleeping longer. I think their baby was 5 months. And baby is sleeping up to 9 hours a night. And the mom wanted to know, this is Melissa, wanted to know if it's okay to go without pumping or feeding for that long. It's fine. If you're home with the baby and the baby is doing this naturally, your supply will regulate to their needs. Sometimes I see moms who are pumping during the day because they're at work, and then the baby gets overfed and then sleeps all night. And that can affect your supply because your body, not everyone's body can go 9 hours without emptying, but if your baby's doing this naturally and you're home with them in the day, it's fine to do. Any last thoughts from our panelists? Caitlin, did you have anything to add? Any other thoughts that came up?
I don't know. For me, just the biggest thing is support. Make sure you have people around to support you. And if you haven't already looked into it, I highly recommend getting a lactation consultant that you love and trust and working with them from the get-go.
Yeah, and I think that's a lovely note to end on, which is that, and Mom Cozy really is doing that, is supporting moms. And I obviously try to do that as a lactation consultant. It's all about the support. It's about knowing that you're not alone, that there's other moms who have gone through this, and the feelings you have are normal, and the stressors you have are normal. So please reach out for support wherever that is. Shall we, Elena, wrap it up?
Yes, I thank you all for joining us. I do want to have a couple announcements. You guys asked about the next webinar, and I'm going to give you a little bit of the inside scoop. We are going to announce, but we are going to focus our webinar. Please mark your calendars. It should be December 18th. Unless there are some changes, we'll send out email communication, but it will be all about postpartum. So we are going to be chatting with a certified nurse midwife and somebody who really specializes in postpartum. So what to expect if you are pregnant, what can you expect in that postpartum period? How can you best prepare for postpartum? So we talk a lot about babies, but this one's all about you, mamas. Like what do we need to support you in that period? And then in January, we are going to do exclusive pumping 101. So I know there's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of exclusive pumpers out there. And I know that there just hasn't a lot of resources. So we are listening to what you guys want, and there's going to be that one. And I want you to know at Mom Cozy, we want to offer more education. So if you liked this, please let us know. And we're actively trying to think of ways. I know we chatted with Colette, and how can we offer more direct support, especially in our Facebook chat. Thank you for your patience as we're building this program. We are going to have so much more for you. So stay tuned. You will get an email automatically if you have registered for this webinar. You're going to get an email about those upcoming ones. So stay tuned. December postpartum, January exclusive pumping. And with that, I want to thank you. I want to thank our amazing panelists today for taking the time to come here, and we will chat. We may potentially do another one of these sessions because we apologize for the technical difficulties. So we will have more information soon. All right.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend.